She thought it was just another shift. He thought no one could care for his son the way he did. When billionaire Grayson Reed stepped into a small-town diner with his disabled son, he never expected to witness something that would shake his entire world. A humble waitress named Cassie didn't see wealth or fame. She just saw a boy who needed kindness. What she did next stunned Grayson so deeply. It changed not only her life, but his as well. You're about to hear a story of compassion, second chances, and how a simple act of humanity can connect two completely different worlds. Post in the comments where are you watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest stories. In a cozy, family-run cafe tucked away on the outskirts of Manhattan, Cassie Woods balanced plates with practiced ease, weaving between crowded tables as the scent of fresh coffee and homemade pies filled the air. The cafe was a modest establishment, worn wooden floors, faded photographs from a bygone era lining the walls, and a warmth that made it feel like home to regular patrons. Cassie had spent years working here, pouring coffee with a friendly smile, chatting with locals, and quietly keeping her dreams hidden behind the exhausting demands of daily survival. Cassie was just 23, but she carried a weight beyond her years. Her mother, once vibrant and full of life, had fallen ill, and medical bills drained every penny Cassie earned. She worked double shifts at the cafe, picked up extra hours at a grocery store, and occasionally did late-night babysitting for a neighbor, anything to keep the household afloat. Despite the struggle, she clung to a quiet, unwavering hope. Since childhood, she had dreamed of becoming a nurse, of stepping into a hospital where she could care for people like her mother, offering kindness in places where kindness was often scarce. But dreams required money, more than she had, and the weight of reality pressed down on her with every late-night balancing of bills and prescriptions. Still, Cassie never let the exhaustion dull her warmth. She treated every customer with the same kindness, remembering their favorite orders, asking about their families, offering a comforting presence in the hum of the cafe. The regulars adored her, yet they never quite knew just how much she carried alone. It was just another busy afternoon when the front door swung open, and two figures stepped inside. One an impeccably dressed man, his tailored suit speaking of wealth and prestige, and beside him a young boy in a wheelchair. Cassie instinctively straightened, smoothing the front of her apron, as she grabbed two menus and approached their table. "Welcome," she said with a warm smile, placing the menus before them. "Can I get you something to drink?" The man, Grayson Reed, lifted his gaze briefly, offering her a nod of acknowledgement before glancing down at his son, who seemed indifferent to their surroundings. "A coffee," Grayson said simply. "Black." Cassie turned to the boy, giving him the same gentle kindness she showed everyone. "And for you?" The boy hesitated, then shrugged. "I don't know, maybe hot chocolate?" Cassie grinned. "Great choice. I'll make sure it's extra good." As she walked toward the counter, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was different, that there was something unspoken beneath the polished surface of the man's presence and the quiet sadness in the boy's eyes. Little did she know her kindness, so effortlessly given, was about to change everything. Cassie balanced a tray of coffee mugs as the door swung open again, letting in the crisp autumn air. She stole another glance at the man and his son, noting the quiet tension between them. The boy, perhaps 14 or 15, kept his gaze lowered, absently running his fingers along the armrest of his wheelchair. His father sat upright, composed, exuding the kind of confidence that came from years of power and control. Something about them stood out, not just because of the contrast between their expensive clothes and the simplicity of the cafe, but because of the quiet loneliness in the boy's expression. Setting down their drinks, Cassie kept her voice light. "Here you go, 1 black coffee and 1 hot chocolate, extra creamy." The boy looked up, surprised, and gave her a small nod of thanks. His father barely acknowledged her, already absorbed in an incoming call. As the phone buzzed, the man sighed, murmured a quick apology to his son, and stepped outside to take the call. Cassie hesitated, glancing at the boy. He fiddled with the sleeve of his jacket, the hot chocolate untouched in front of him. "You know," she said gently, pulling up a chair beside him, "I think this might be the best hot chocolate in the city." But if it's too sweet, I can fix it. The boy finally looked up, studying her. It's fine, he said. Then, after a pause, I just don't feel like eating much lately. Cassie nodded, understanding something beyond his words. That happens sometimes. But trust me, when things feel heavy, a little comfort food helps. She lifted his spoon and stirred the drink with practiced ease, handing it to him like it was the most natural thing in the world. The boy hesitated but took it, finally sipping the warm liquid. For the first time that evening, his posture relaxed slightly. Outside, Grayson Reed turned back toward the café, ending his call. But as he stepped inside, he froze. His son, so often withdrawn, weighed down by struggles few understood, was smiling. And the reason for that smile? The waitress sitting beside him, treating him not as the son of a billionaire, but simply as a boy who needed kindness. Grayson's grip tightened around his phone as something inside him shifted. For the first time in a long while, he felt the unfamiliar sting of emotion, watching the scene unfold before him. After his brief phone call outside, Grayson stepped back into the café, expecting to rejoin the routine of a businessperson on a quick errand. Instead, his breath caught in his throat as he witnessed a scene that would haunt and change him forever. Near the window, where warm afternoon light pooled softly onto a worn table, Cassie sat beside his son. The boy, who had seemed withdrawn just moments before, now looked engaged and animated. Cassie had set aside the protective reserve that so often guarded her heart at work, and in its place flowed an undeniable tenderness. As she leaned in with gentle humor, she coaxed a smile from his lips. Carefully, she helped him take bites from his meal. A simple act of feeding that turned into an exchange of whispered jokes and soft laughter. The raw warmth in her eyes and the calm kindness in her voice spoke louder than any polished pitch or corporate presentation Grayson had ever experienced. In that instant, every preconception Grayson held about the world of wealth and power began to crumble. Here, in the familiar comfort of a small neighborhood cafe, was a moment of genuine human connection. A moment so far removed from the cold boardrooms and calculated moves of his usual life. He couldn't tear his eyes away as he watched the way Cassie cradled his son's fragile smile with uncomplicated care. The boy's laughter, innocent and unburdened, filled the space with a soft, contagious melody of hope that Grayson hadn't heard in years. Grayson's mind raced. Despite the veneer of sophistication and success he had carried for so long, nothing in his world of high stakes and relentless ambition had prepared him for this simple display of human kindness. He recalled times when his own son, usually surrounded by the trappings of corporate luxury, had seemed distant or subdued, engulfed by the heavy expectations of a curated life. Now, here was a glimpse of freedom, a reminder that compassion and warmth could transcend the cold calculus of wealth and status. Caught in the silent reverie, Grayson felt his heart tighten and then slowly open. The precision of his corporate world blurred into the background, overwhelmed by the vivid clarity of this moment. He realized that this simple act of care, the way Cassie had instinctively reached out to comfort a child, had ignited something inside him. It was more powerful than any carefully orchestrated business presentation or strategic move. It was pure and unplanned, the kind of unassuming brilliance that could change lives. For the rest of that day and the days to follow, Grayson found himself unable to shake the memory of Cassie's compassion. The scene had imprinted itself on his heart, a moment of unscripted humanity that dissolved the distance between two very different worlds. In that precious interval, her quiet kindness had spoken volumes, leaving him both in awe and determined to seek her out, to learn more about the person behind that radiant, caring smile. In the quiet hours after that afternoon, Grayson couldn't shake the image of Cassie's gentle smile and the genuine tenderness with which she cared for his son. Determined to understand the woman who had so profoundly touched him, he began a discreet investigation into her life. Using contacts and unobtrusive research methods, Grayson learned that Cassie was not merely a waitress. She was a fighter living on the edge of poverty. She juggled multiple jobs, all while nursing the dreams of a better future. A future in which she aspired to become a medical professional so she could care for others, just as she cared for her ailing mother. Every new detail he discovered deepened his admiration for her. Cassie's life was fraught with hardships. The constant struggle to make ends meet, the selfless dedication to her mother's well-being, and the quiet sacrifice of her own dreams. Yet, amid these challenges, her spirit shone with resilience and unwavering compassion. Grayson realized that her strength was not measured by financial success or corporate power, but by the kindness and determination that permeated every aspect of her existence. Motivated by this newfound understanding, Grayson resolved to meet Cassie again. This time, not as the enigmatic billionaire he was known as, but as a man genuinely curious about her story. The next time he walked into the café, he adopted a simpler guise. Leaving the tailored suit and ostentatious air at home, he chose a modest, understated outfit and introduced himself as Greg. His tone was warm and unassuming, his eyes filled with sincere interest rather than business calculation. Cassie noticed the difference immediately. Here was a man who greeted her not with the imperious nod of a wealthy magnate, but with the genuine curiosity of a newcomer eager to learn about the community. As she took his order and served him a carefully crafted cup of coffee, their conversation naturally shifted from small talk about the neighborhood to more personal topics. Greg listened intently as Cassie spoke about her daily struggles, the long hours at the cafe, the extra shifts at the grocery store, and the heavy burden of caring for her sick mother. She spoke of her long-held dream of one day attending medical college, a dream that had been quietly kept alive by a resilient hope even in the darkest moments. Grayson's eyes never left hers as he softly remarked, "It's incredible, the strength you show in every little act of kindness. I see so much more in you than just a cheerful smile behind the counter." His words were not laced with pity, but with the sincere admiration of someone who recognized genuine inner beauty. His gentle inquiries were meant to understand rather than to impress, and Cassie, though cautious, found herself touched by his openness. In that humble cafe, amid the clink of coffee cups and the soft murmur of local patrons, a tentative bond began to form. Cassie was reserved, her trust hard-earned over years of hardship, but she couldn't help but be moved by this unassuming Greg, who saw her not as an employee but as a person with dreams and worth beyond her current struggles. For Grayson, the meeting confirmed what he had already begun to feel, that true connection could bridge the vast expanse between two very different worlds. His heart, once armored by the cold precision of corporate life, had started to open to a warmth and vulnerability he hadn't known he was missing. Over the next few days, Grayson, still under his modest guise as Greg, continued to visit the cafe. Every encounter with Cassie deepened the unexpected bond that had formed between them. One quiet afternoon, as gentle rain tapped against the cafe windows, Greg and Cassie found themselves engaged in one of those long, heartfelt conversations that felt both natural and weighted by unspoken truths. Sitting at a corner table, tucked away from the usual bustle, Cassie hesitated as Greg broached the subject that had been on his mind. "Cassie, I see how hard you work, how much you sacrifice. Not just for your family, but for yourself and your dreams," he said softly, his eyes sincere. "I want to help. I can cover your tuition fees or even help with your mother's treatment if you need it." Cassie's eyes widened momentarily, a mix of surprise and stubborn pride crossing her face. "I appreciate that, truly," she replied, her voice steady despite the underlying emotion. "But I won't accept charity. I've spent enough of my life fighting to make things on my own. My dream of becoming a nurse, of caring for others, must be earned, not handed out." Her words hung in the air between them, both a declaration and a shield. Greg nodded slowly, understanding that her resolve came not from ingratitude, but from a life built on the belief that dignity mattered most. "I understand, Cassie," he said, his tone laced with both admiration and regret. "All I want is to see you succeed and to know that your kindness and strength don't go unnoticed." Their conversation flowed from practicalities to the more delicate realms of life's hardships. They talked about past losses, about the dreams that had seemed unreachable, and the moments that had forged their characters. Cassie recalled the countless nights spent worrying about bills and wondering if she would ever chase the dream that stirred so quietly in her heart. Greg, whose life had been dominated by the cold strategies of the corporate world, admitted that watching Cassie had awakened a long-forgotten hope, a hope that real success didn't come from power or wealth, but from integrity and compassion. In a quiet moment, while they sat in reflective silence, Greg's young son, who had grown increasingly attached to Cassie's gentle spirit, piped up from a nearby table. "Dad, she's the nicest person I've ever met," the boy said, his voice earnest and small. "Please don't let her go." Those simple words struck a chord deep within Greg. Seeing the world through his son's eyes, untainted by the cynicism of his everyday life, made him realize that Cassie's strength lay in her authentic kindness, a quality that, when nurtured, could transform lives. In that moment, both father and son found a common truth. True value is measured not by social status, but by the warmth and care one brings to others. Even as Cassie maintained her resolve to stand on her own, a slow change began to take root in Greg's heart. He understood that while he could offer help, the real gift was the acknowledgement of her worth and potential, a gift that could unlock doors she had long thought remained forever closed. With a compassionate smile, he said quietly, "Cassie, maybe it's not about charity. Perhaps my role is simply to be here, to support you when you need it, so that nothing ever holds you back from following your dreams." Cassie met his gaze, her own eyes revealing a mixture of guarded hope and cautious gratitude. In that gentle exchange, a bridge was built between two very different worlds, one run by boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, and one defined by resilience, hard work, and unyielding compassion. For the first time, Cassie allowed herself to wonder if maybe, just maybe, accepting a bit of help wouldn't diminish her strength, but instead amplify the goodness that had always been the key to her heart. In the days that followed their heartfelt conversation in the café, Grayson felt a mounting determination to help Cassie in a way that preserved her dignity and honored her dreams. Unable to stand by and watch her continue to struggle while her potential remained unfulfilled, he began to devise a plan that would offer her an opportunity rather than a handout. Late one evening, after another quiet shift had ended, Grayson carefully reached out to a reputable local medical college known for nurturing talented, hardworking students. Rather than simply donating money or offering a gift, he decided to create a scholarship program dedicated to promising individuals from underprivileged backgrounds. His idea was to award a full scholarship to those who demonstrated not only academic potential but also the resilience and compassion needed to make a real difference in the world of healthcare. In an almost serendipitous twist of fate, when applications were reviewed, Cassie emerged as one of the sole candidates who truly embodied that spirit. When the college informed her that she had been selected as a recipient of the new scholarship, later to be known as the Opportunity Fund, Cassie was transported into a whirlwind of mixed emotions. Shock quickly gave way to indignation. She couldn't help but feel that this was nothing more than a charity set up by a man who assumed she needed saving. "Is this just another way to put me in a box, to decide my fate for me?" she wondered bitterly. Her pride, honed over years of independent struggle, bristled at the idea of receiving something that might tarnish her hard-fought accomplishments. Unable to contain her stewing emotions, she confronted Grayson later that night in the quiet of a dimly lit corner of a nearby park. With a tremor in her voice and eyes flashing with a mix of hurt and determination, she demanded, "Tell me, Grayson, was this scholarship meant as an act of charity? Do you really believe I can't succeed on my own without someone else's help?" Grayson regarded her for a long moment, his gaze soft yet resolute. "Cassie," he began, his tone measured and earnest, "this isn't about charity or control. It's about acknowledging your incredible potential. I see the strength in you that has carried you through every hardship, and I believe that you deserve every opportunity to pursue your dream of becoming a medical professional. I wanted to remove one of the many obstacles you face, not to diminish your hard work, but to celebrate it." Their conversation stretched into hours as they sat side by side, the city's quiet hum bearing witness to their vulnerable exchange. Cassie shared the long nights of worry for her ailing mother and the constant pressure of her financial burdens, while Grayson spoke of his own past challenges and the transformational power of genuine encouragement. Bit by bit, Her defensive anger softened into cautious understanding as she realized that Grayson's offer was not meant to undermine her independence, but rather to empower her to reach her dreams on her own terms. By the time the conversation drew to a close, Cassie had come to understand that the scholarship was not an unearned gift. It was an opportunity crafted to help her break free from the chains that had long held her back. The realization was bittersweet. Accepting the scholarship meant admitting that sometimes, accepting help is not a sign of weakness but an act of courageous self-belief. That night, as Cassie gazed out at the sprawling city from her modest apartment window, the glittering lights seemed to whisper promises of a brighter future. The scholarship wasn't a concession, but a key that could open doors to a world where her dreams of becoming a medical professional and caring for her mother could finally be realized. In that quiet moment, her heart slowly made peace with the idea that sometimes the most genuine support comes in forms that challenge our deepest insecurities. With resolve kindled by the sincerity of their conversation, Cassie decided to embrace this opportunity, an opportunity she recognized as a stepping stone towards a better life, one earned through perseverance and the undeniable power of her own kindness. 1 year later, the lives of those once bound by chance and circumstance had transformed in ways none could have imagined. Cassie Woods now strode confidently through the bustling halls of a respected medical college, her once dim dream of becoming a healthcare professional now a vivid, promising reality. Her days were filled with lectures, late-night study sessions, and hands-on training that not only honed her knowledge but also strengthened her resolve. No longer just the kind-hearted waitress of a small café, she had become a symbol of resilience, a shining example of how determination could overcome even the harshest challenges. Cassie's journey was marked by gradual but remarkable progress. Along the way, the scholarship program initiated by Grayson Reed had opened a door that allowed her to excel academically without being weighed down by financial hardships. Her talent and hard work soon earned her the respect of professors and peers alike. With every step forward in her studies, Cassie carried the memories of those long, arduous days working multiple jobs and watching over her ailing mother, a constant reminder of why she fought so hard for a better future. At home, the change was equally profound. Thanks to the advanced treatment provided at one of Manhattan's top medical clinics, her mother had begun a steady path toward recovery. The once overwhelming fear and despair that loomed over their modest apartment had given way to hope and cautious optimism. Cassie's diligent care and unwavering spirit had not only lifted her own life, but had also brightened her mother's world, proving that kindness and determination could turn even life's darkest moments into opportunities for healing. The ripple effects of that fateful encounter extended far beyond Cassie's own life. Grayson Reed, whose heart had been stirred by witnessing Cassie's compassionate care for his son, found his perspective on life irrevocably altered. No longer satisfied with the cold precision of boardroom conquests, he began to see true success in the warmth of human connection. His son, too, experienced a transformation as he formed a genuine bond with Cassie, one built on mutual respect and shared moments of laughter and joy. On breezy afternoons in the park, the trio would stroll together beneath a canopy of golden leaves, their conversations full of dreams and reflections that transcended the boundaries between wealth and struggle. In these quiet moments amidst the vibrant hum of the city, a profound truth revealed itself. Cassie, Grayson, and his son had discovered that real change lies not in grand gestures or monetary gifts, but in the simple act of caring for one another. That single instance when Cassie had selflessly attended to the boy had set in motion a chain reaction of compassion, transforming hearts and reshaping destinies. It was a living testament that kindness, when freely given, can ripple through the world and return in even greater measure. As they paused at a park bench under a clear blue sky, Grayson's son looked at Cassie with wide, earnest eyes and said, "You're the best person I know." Moved by the pure sentiment of that moment, Grayson smiled and added, "Sometimes, to change someone's life, it's enough to let kindness flow, and sometimes that kindness comes back threefold." Together, the three of them walked on, their hearts lighter and their paths forever intertwined, proving that genuine compassion has the power to bridge worlds and illuminate even the most challenging roads. I hope you enjoyed this story. Leave a comment, sharing your thoughts about it, Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new and equally exciting stories. See you in the next video.